Black-eyed children, often described on the internet in a lot of different videos of misinformation and disinformation as satanic children, Luciferian children, demons, demonic entities, bad, evil spirits, children from hell, Satan's children, so many different terms. I lost count. I don't even know what all these terminologies are, but they're all fear-mongering, fear porn. And in a lot of videos, a lot of people say that if you encounter these entities, these small, short little children with black eyes, then they're definitely entities. They're going to possess you, and they're going to possess your children, and they're going to possess your dream states and give you nightmares, etc. and etc. So a lot of these things are absolutely not true. They're made by content creators and have no extraterrestrial contact or celestial intelligence or information of where these beings are coming from. And this standard information, standard terminology, standard English terms are always used. And we see the same thing with reptilians and draconians and Draco, and every time we hear anything that's reptilian, immediately it's labeled as demonic, immediately it's labeled as Luciferian, immediately it's labeled as satanic. Neither one of these three things actually exist if you were to ask a reptilian, but they only exist on Earth because religions told us so. So these worthless terms, these religious terms, who promote division, who promote this prison system type of controlling mindset, they're teaching and brainwashing, conditioning, definitely conditioning individuals to believe in these concepts of hell, to believe in these demons, believe in these satanic Luciferian agendas on Earth. But humans have a lot more problems than I think on Earth that's happening than for us to spend our time or waste our time pointing fingers about some imaginary cults and groups and sects and special encounters between some demonic entities and humans. A lot of this is just misinformation. What is not a misinformation is that there are hybrid programs between humans and Zeta Reticuli. We've always known that. Plah-Yel Sassani, or Sassani as some call it, and YahYel. I have my own personal connection to YahYels from many, many years ago, and I talked about it in my book called Book on KALASK, the book on My Path to Thubin. I have a whole chapter designed or created or talked about just about the YahYel beings. But a lot of these YahYel beings, Sassani beings, Plah-Yel beings, they're in the business of taking human DNA on a very benevolent level. So very benevolent transaction. And this has been going on for many years. This is nothing new. Many people are in the hybrid program without even knowing it. Many women are in the hybrid program without even knowing it. Many, many people. And there are some really great channelers, popular channelers, that have channeled a lot of these beings, these black-eyed children beings, these YahYel beings, these Sassani beings, a lot of the beings that come from races we have no name for, but a lot of channelers out there are always bringing the best information forward about these beings. From Wiki to Kulhov, Gita Rose, Sean Swanson, Daryl Anka, Rob Garthier, a lot of these people have already brought a lot of different information. So they're bringing a lot of new channelings, a lot of information from these hybrid groups, these hybrid races that are heavily involved with humans, heavily involved on Earth. Some of them live on ships and some live within our fourth density dimensional layer that is here on Earth. And what they are in the business for, taking human DNA. And this is agreed on a soul level. It's never done against the human's free will. They're a pretty benevolent race, neutral to benevolent race, and they do it for the purposes of reproduction, truly, hybridization, reprocreating their own race. But one of the things I can say is they're also doing it for the purposes of trading human DNA. A lot of the hybrid groups, they're not in the business of, just as they say, to take care of our children and reproduce the children and our offshoots of these children. No. Our human DNA is also being traded on a black market in different dimensional layers, but this is a different conversation aside from the black-eyed children. And I've encountered black-eyed children several times in fourth density state. Face to face, plenty of them, and they're pretty much benevolent. They're little tricksters is what they are. They had their adult female handlers. You can definitely be sure that there's always a female handler. They would never allow these children to interact with the human on their own. No way, no way. So I saw them without masking, without shape-shifting, without any technology, their true identity. And these are very, I would call them a young group of beings, young group of YahYel offshoots. That's what they are. They're YahYel offshoots, and they're close ancestors of YahYel, absolutely. That's the predecessors of their own, are the YahYel groups, not Sassani, not Plah-Yel. The YahYel is the race that's responsible for these black-eyed children as one of the offshoots. That's all. So the black-eyed children are not some demonic children. They're not come from hell. They didn't teleport from hell because Satan told them to do so. Like, these religious concepts are getting out of hand day by day. All they have to do is with the YahYel group, and all YahYel has to do is with the Zeta Reticuli group. And Zeta's used to control the whole hybrid program, not anymore. They handed it to the YahYel. Even Sassanis and Plah-Yels, they don't have as much as authority as much as the YahYels do. But the misspeakings, the lies, the fear porn about the YouTube videos or any other, I'd say, content, material that has to do with these black-eyed children being from hell and they're possessing humans. Now, this is misinformation and pure lies, absolute deception. These beings are actually quite playful. In my own interactions with them, they're very playful, very touchy, very poking, touching, grabbing, holding, pulling, even what I perceive as scratching. But this is just how they are. And in some cases with females, it's reported from actual contactees is that females' breasts were touched and private parts and so forth, but not in a bad way. It's just, like I said, they're very hands-on. And just like as a human being has a cat or a dog who's either extremely affectionate or not affectionate. And in our romantic relationships, intimate relationships with people, between men and women, we have the same. Or men and men, whatever, we have the same. We have either a partner that's extremely affectionate or a partner that doesn't really value intimacy and affection that much. Whether that is from complex past traumas, whether that is personality disorders, but the point is they're not very affectionate. So it's two different extremes. And with a lot of these YahYel beings, Plah-Yel, Sassani, they're the same. They're either very playful or they're not. They're very reserved under a careful, watchful eye of their adults. So they're not dangerous, they're not bad, they're not evil. They're just extremely interested and curious about us humans and the misunderstanding of the black color, the black eyes being bad, the black eyes being negative, being evil. This goes to the primitive debates about light versus dark, how darkness is bad, light is great and source and God's energy. But of course, what happened to duality? All humans have blackness, all humans have light. All humans have that equally, black and dark, yin and the yang, the positive and the negative. We're both dark and we're both light. That's what makes us a great multidimensional being. And another thing to mention, lastly, not to confuse with, I've done a video on deceased humans. And often these deceased humans, so souls, spirits that don't want to cross over to fourth density, they're still stuck around our homes and houses, poking us while we sleep, harassing us really, or at hotel rooms, which happened to me many times. People will confuse them with the black-eyed children. No. The deceased humans are not actual physical YahYel's children, Sassani's children. So because human beings have third eye blackness, meaning on their third eye, audio is not synced and video is not synced. So we're not able to see into fourth density with full third eye opening. And this is why we make very, very often these mistakes. Very, very quickly we say, oh, that was a demonic entity. This was a bad being. This was an evil spirit. Absolutely not. Black-eyed children are just playful young beings, tricky and smooth with their maneuvers, but not dangerous in any way. And there should be no threats really, no worries, no fears associated or to engage with these entities or their adults. They're just there to introduce themselves. That's all. They mind their own business. And we as human beings, we're multidimensional hybrids anyway. We're multidimensional extraterrestrial hybrids. We have 22 DNA contributions from different extraterrestrials. So let's forget about what Bible thumpers are telling us. We're multidimensional beings, and it's our job to engage with other multidimensional beings, particularly those who live right here on Earth, including the hybrid groups, the black-eyed children, reptilians, aquatics, insectoids, elemental energy, whatever. I say you put away the religious talk and we engage with our courage and with our bravery.